The world had become a study in textures and sounds for Alara. The soft murmur of her husband Arthur's voice, the quick, light footsteps of her granddaughter Lily, the smooth coolness of the porcelain sink, the familiar rough weave of her favorite armchair. At 52, Ilara, once known throughout their small town for the exquisite, brightly colored cakes she created, lived in a deepening twilight. A rare, aggressive form of cataracts had stolen her sight, first gradually, then with terrifying speed, leaving her in a world of indistinct shapes and shadows, her beloved colors reduced to a uniform gray. Her bakery, Alara's edible art, had been her joy, a place where sugar, flour, and butter transformed into edible dreams. Delicate sugar flowers, vibrant fondant sculptures, cakes that were as much works of art as they were confections. The loss of her sight hadn't just taken away her livelihood, it had taken a piece of who she was. She could still bake simple recipes by touch and memory, the familiar weight of the mixing bowl, the feel of dough beneath her fingers, a comfort in the dark. But the intricate decorating, the painstaking detail work that set her apart, that was impossible. Her hands, once so sure and creative, now fumbled, knocked things over, struggled with even simple tasks in her once familiar kitchen. Arthur was a rock, patient, kind, his love a quiet, steady presence. He'd help her navigate the house, read her mail aloud, listen without judgment as she expressed her frustration and sorrow. But Ilara felt the burden on him, the extra care he had to provide, the worry etched around his eyes even when he smiled. Their granddaughter, 7-year-old Lily, was a bright spark in Alara's life, a frequent visitor who would chatter excitedly about her school day, her drawings, the colorful world Alara could no longer fully share. Lily would carefully place Alara's hand on her latest crayon masterpiece, describing the colors and shapes with earnest detail, and Alara would try to picture it, a painful exercise in imagination. The doctors had offered options, but none were simple. The type of cataracts Alara had, combined with a long-standing, carefully managed heart condition, made standard surgery incredibly risky. One specialist, Dr. Evelyn Reed, a renowned ophthalmic surgeon, had presented a possibility, a complex experimental procedure with a guarded prognosis. Success wasn't guaranteed, and the risks given Alara's heart were significant. Other doctors had advised against it, deeming it too dangerous, suggesting she learn to live with her condition. The word procedure sent a shiver of fear down Alara's spine, a cold echo of a memory she couldn't shake. Years ago, her vibrant, laughing younger sister Sophie had gone in for a routine, seemingly minor procedure. A complication, unexpected and sudden, had changed everything. Sophie had survived, but her health had been fragile ever since, her energy sapped, her life forever altered by that one moment of medical intervention. The fear Alara felt now wasn't just for herself, it was tangled with the trauma of watching Sophie suffer, the helplessness she'd felt then, amplified now by her own vulnerability. She couldn't knowingly put herself at such risk, not with Arthur to worry about, not when her own attempt at a simple life now felt so precarious. So she had refused, firmly, perhaps too firmly, dismissing Dr. Reed's cautious optimism and Arthur's gentle encouragement. "It's too dangerous," she'd told Arthur, her voice tight with a fear she couldn't fully articulate. "I won't put you through that worry. We'll manage." Managing, however, became increasingly difficult. Her attempts at baking by touch were often frustrating, resulting in lopsided layers or uneven textures. A large order for a significant birthday cake, a chance to bring in much-needed income and reclaim a piece of her identity, ended in quiet disaster. She simply couldn't get the delicate sugarwork right, the precise piping required for the design. Arthur found her in the kitchen, surrounded by discarded attempts, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. He held her close, murmuring words of comfort, but the weight of her loss hung heavy in the air between them. Her world shrank. She rarely left the house, feeling vulnerable and disoriented outside her familiar surroundings. The vibrant energy she once possessed, the spark that had fueled her creativity, dimmed. She felt like a burden, resentful of her dependence, yet terrified of the one thing that might alleviate it. One sunny afternoon, Lily came to visit. her usual cheerful energy tempered by a quiet understanding of her grandmother's world. She sat beside Alara on the sofa, a large pad of paper and a box of crayons spread out before her. "Grandma," Lily said, her voice serious, "I'm drawing you a picture of the park, the one with the big oak tree and the swing set." Ilara smiled, reaching out to find Lily's hand. "That sounds lovely, sweet pea. Tell me about it." Lily described the scene as she drew, her crayon scratching softly against the paper. "The sky is really blue today, Grandma, like the icing on your blueberry tarts." Ilara tried to remember the exact shade of blue she used for those tarts, a vibrant, deep color, but the memory felt faded, like a photograph left too long in the sun. "And the leaves on the oak tree are starting to turn yellow and red and orange. They're like little flames." Lily's voice was full of wonder, describing a world Alara desperately missed. "And look!" Lily held up a red crayon. "This red is almost like the strawberries we used to put on the shortcake." Ilara nodded, trying to conjure the image, the memory of bright red strawberries against white cream. But the colors remained elusive, abstract concepts rather than lived experiences. A wave of profound sadness washed over her, a feeling of being cut off, not just from her own life, but from Lily's too. She couldn't share the visual joy of Lily's world, couldn't truly appreciate the colors she described with such enthusiasm. She was missing out on the vibrant tapestry of her granddaughter's young life. Later that night, alone in the quiet darkness of her bedroom, Ilara thought about Lily's drawing. She pictured the little hand holding the red crayon, the earnest face describing the blue sky. The longing to see became a physical ache, a counterpoint to the cold grip of fear. She thought of Sophie, too, of her sister's quiet courage in facing her own ongoing health struggles with grace. Sophie wouldn't want Ilara to live in fear, wouldn't want her to miss out on life because of what had happened to her. A battle raged within Ilara, the ingrained terror of medical procedures versus the overwhelming desire to see, to reconnect with the visual world, to see Lily's bright, colorful life and her husband's kind face clearly again. The image of Lily's unseen drawing, vibrant with described colors, became a powerful symbol. Was she willing to let fear keep her in perpetual gray, missing the blues and reds and yellows of her family's lives for the sake of avoiding a risk? Or was the chance, however small, of seeing Lily's world worth facing her deepest fear? The dawn found Ilara awake, a quiet resolve settling over her. It wasn't an absence of fear, but a willingness to act despite it. She knew what she had to do. She spoke to Arthur over breakfast, her voice steady. "Arthur," she said, reaching for his hand across the table, "I want to talk to Dr. Reed again, about the procedure." Arthur's eyes widened, filled with surprise and a flicker of hope he had tried to suppress. He squeezed her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "Oh, Ilara, are you sure?" "I'm sure," she said, a small, determined smile on her face. "I don't want to miss any more color." Meeting with Dr. Reed again was different this time. Ilara asked questions, listened carefully, her fear still present but no longer paralyzing. Dr. Reed was patient, explaining the steps, the potential outcomes, the precautions they would take given Ilara's heart condition. The risks were still there, clear and acknowledged, but Ilara focused on the possibility, the chance, however uncertain, of regaining her sight. She scheduled the surgery. The days leading up to the procedure were filled with a nervous energy. Ilara busied herself with simple baking tasks, relying on touch and memory, trying to focus on the familiar comfort of the kitchen rather than the looming date. Arthur was a constant, quiet support, handling the necessary arrangements, his love a palpable shield against her anxiety. Lily, sensing the shift, would simply hold Ilara's hand more often, her small fingers a comforting anchor. On the morning of the surgery, the hospital felt cool and sterile, a stark contrast to the warmth of her kitchen. Saying goodbye to Arthur and Lily at the pre-op area was hard. She hugged Lily tightly, inhaling the scent of her hair. "Be brave, Grandma," Lily whispered, pressing something small and crinkled into Ilara's hand. It was Lily's latest drawing, folded many times. "I'll try, sweet pea," Ilara murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "I'll try." The surgery itself was a blur, A period of unconsciousness followed by the slow, disorienting return to awareness in a hospital room. Her eyes were bandaged. The world was still dark. Dr. Reed visited, her voice calm and reassuring. Everything went well, Alara. The procedure was successful. Now we wait. Healing takes time. It's impossible to say yet how much vision will return, or when. We need patience. Patience. The word felt like a cruel joke. Ilara had been patient for months, waiting in darkness. Now the waiting continued, filled with uncertainty and the quiet fear that she had gone through the risk for nothing. Days bled into each other. The bandages came off, but the world remained a blur of gray shapes, perhaps slightly brighter than before, but still formless. Disappointment gnawed at her. Had she faced her greatest fear, put her health at risk only for this? Arthur stayed by her side, reading to her, talking softly. Lily visited, her voice a comforting presence. One afternoon, sitting in a chair by the hospital window, the afternoon sun warm on her face through the glass, Lily was talking about her day. And then, Grandma, I drew a picture of our house. The roof is brown, and the door is green, like the grass after it rains. Alara listened, trying to conjure the green of wet grass, the brown of their shingles. It was still just a concept. Frustration welled up. She reached out, finding Lily's hand. Oh, Lily, she sighed, the disappointment heavy in her voice. I wish I could see your wonderful pictures. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then her small hand gently took Alara's other hand and guided it to her cheek. But you can feel me, Grandma, she said softly. My cheeks are soft, and my hair is like threads of sunlight. Alara's fingers traced the contours of Lily's face, the soft curve of her cheek, the delicate line of her jaw, the feel of her silky hair. And in that moment, focusing on the feel of her granddaughter's beloved face, something shifted. A flicker, a spark. Not a sudden flood of light, but a gradual, undeniable clearing. The gray began to separate, edges becoming sharper. Indistinct shapes resolved into forms. Colors, soft at first, then bolder, began to paint the world before her eyes. She blinked, focusing. Lily's face, inches from hers, slowly came into sharp relief. Her eyes bright and clear. The faint scattering of freckles across her nose. The vibrant pink of her lips. Lily, Ilara breathed, her voice filled with awe and disbelief. I can see you. Lily's eyes widened, her face breaking into a radiant smile. Grandma, you can. Tears streamed down Alara's face, tears of pure, overwhelming joy. She could see her granddaughter, truly see her, for the first time in years. The colors of Lily's face, the bright living pigments of her skin, her eyes, her hair. They were more beautiful, more vibrant than any color Ilara had ever mixed for a cake. Arthur, who had been standing quietly by the window, turned at Alara's gasp. He saw her face, illuminated not just by the returning light, but by the sheer, raw emotion. He saw her eyes fixed on Lily, shining with a brilliance he hadn't seen in too long. Ilara, he whispered, rushing forward. Ilara looked up at him, her vision extending, taking in his face, the lines of worry eased by dawning understanding, the warmth in his eyes, the slight gray at his temples she could now truly see. Arthur, she sobbed, reaching out for him. I can see you. I can see you both. The three of them clung together, a tangle of arms and happy tears, in the hospital room now filled not just with sunlight, but with the radiant, overwhelming light of a family reunited through courage, love, and a hard-won return to sight. Ilara's vision wasn't perfect. There were still some blurry areas, some limitations, but it was immeasurably better. Enough to navigate her home independently, enough to see the worried lines disappear from Arthur's face, enough, most importantly, to see the world through Lily's eyes, to see the vibrant blues and reds of her drawings, not just in her imagination, but with her own eyes. She returned to her kitchen, her hands now sure in seeing. Baking became a joy again, though perhaps less about the intricate, perfect art and more about the simple pleasure of creating, of seeing the colors of her ingredients, the golden brown of a baked cake, the vibrant hues of fruit fillings. She baked with Lily, teaching her the feel of dough, the smell of vanilla, now able to share the visual magic of decorating too. Ilara knew that fear would always be a part of her story, a reminder of vulnerability and loss. But she also knew that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was facing it, stepping into the unknown because the hope on the other side was brighter than the darkness. She had risked everything to see, and in doing so, she had been given a gift far greater than physical sight, the ability to fully appreciate the light, color, and love that had surrounded her all along, just waiting for her to truly see it.